And now, Good Mike Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Finally, the Winged Eagle Podcast has come back to Saturdays, although I think we were here last Saturday, so forget I even said that. What's going on, guys? Happy weekend to you. We got a lot to talk about. The Rock is back. Is he going to be wrestling at WrestleMania 40 next year? If so, what's he going to do? Who's he going to face? Is he back just for a little while here because actors have got nothing else to do right now and we're not going to see him next year? How much of it hinges on the creative plans for whatever it is he wants to do? And welcome back, Dwayne Johnson. Now, Dwayne was a busy man yesterday. Prior to his appearance on SmackDown, he appeared on the Pat McAfee show and detailed and revealed some WrestleMania 39 plans that were apparently in place for him and Roman Reigns, and talked about how they had to put their pencils down and rethink everything, which is awfully fucking suspicious. So we're going to talk about The Rock a lot today. We're going to talk about his appearance on Pat McAfee yesterday. We're going to talk about his appearance on SmackDown last night, even getting physical, hitting a spiny on Austin Theory, and People's Elbow interacted with John Cena backstage, shake hands and hug. That warmed my heart, and it was just great to see the dude back. But I do have some strong opinions about this man that I am going to share with you guys a little later when we talk about WrestleMania and Roman Reigns and what The Rock and Roman could potentially do. Because based on what The Rock said in the McAfee interview, sounds to me like he wanted to win. So I think that might be the holdback here. And we'll talk about who should be the guy to beat Roman Reigns, finally end the title, or finally end his title run, and who he should face at next year's WrestleMania. Rock, Cody, Gunther, Seth, LA Knight. We got some options. It's not just Cody, you know? So that's the cool thing about wrestling, especially right now, this kind of resurgence that we've had in popularity, especially on WWE's end. Makes things very interesting when you can't see everything coming from 5.5 miles away. You know, it's exciting. So 2024 for both companies and pro wrestling in general is going to be a very, very interesting year. So we're going to talk about everything surrounding The Rock yesterday. We're also going to talk about the WWE layoffs that began now that the merger is in place. Big company-wide layoffs on Friday as well. Very sad stuff. Apparently there are going to be some talent cuts coming in the future as well, and that will probably come rather quickly, probably in the next few days or weeks, I would assume. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the latest on Jade Cargill and her presumed jump to WWE. She did, in fact, lose clean to Chris Statlander last night on the taped Rampage for the TNT title. Shared a nice hug and a farewell after the match. All signs point to her going to WWE, and I'm going to tell you how I think she should debut, so stay tuned for that. CM Punk is also making a little bit of news because he might have revealed how much time we're going to have to wait until we see him resurface in wrestling again. So we'll talk about that later. And we will finish things up with a quick recap of last night's SmackDown, a SmackDown that's been getting high praise from a lot of people. Very fun, exciting show that is kind of a really good example of how pro wrestling can be, how fun it can be sometimes. There was a lot of fun segments, a couple of good matches, the specialness of The Rock being there and John Cena. I'm just waiting for Batista and any other wrestler turned actor that's got nothing else to do right now, turning back up on the scene. But last night was just a really good Friday night of wrestling. It put a smile on my face. I wasn't home to see any of this, of course, because I was at work, but later on, getting to come home and catch up on everything and see the reaction from the crowd and the people online and stuff. Just really cool just to see The Rock back. I mean, hell, even got physical, like I said. So we will be here for about 90 minutes today discussing this stuff. Should be fun. Please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. You guys know that. If you are not a subscriber, please do. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers. We are about 600 and change away, so we are almost there. So please tell your friends to subscribe over here so we can hit that milestone. And other than that, not much else to tell you about other than what we're doing tomorrow. We have a watch-along planned of Fall Brawl, WCW Fall Brawl, 1998. I was trying to think of a watch-along to do tomorrow, and I was looking at some Fall Brawls, and I don't remember Fall Brawl 98 at all. I really wasn't watching much of WCW. I was very dialed in to WWE at that time. And even though I bought a few pay-per-views and I was following WCW, I don't retain a lot of it. Like, I don't remember a bunch of it from 98. So when I looked at the War Games match and the participants in that War Games match, I'm like, that looks interesting. The match itself is probably going to suck, but it's interesting just to see the superstars, the star power that's in that match. In 98, WCW still had a lot of names, even though by that point they were starting to get their asses kicked by WWE. So we're going to watch Fall Brawl 1998 tomorrow. If you guys have memories of that, you can share it with us tomorrow evening right here on the channel, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We will have the Sunday Night Football game on as well. For those of you who like to catch up on and keep up with that stuff too, we will be watching some football, some wrestling. It's going to be a nice hangout tomorrow night. Please be sure to join us. And then most likely we'll be up here on Monday after Raw. But Collision, I got to be honest, the card does not look that great tonight. I mean, they got a lot of big shows coming up. They can't really stack the card with that many great matches with Arthur Ashe and Wrestle Dream coming up. But card looks pretty weak. I don't think we're going to see anything too earth-shattering take place on Collision tonight. So there might not be much to discuss in regards to AEW by the time we get to Monday. So we will play that by ear, see what they have planned for Monday Night Raw, and if we get any other news, like some talent layoffs, which I personally believe are coming. And you have to wonder when the right day to do those is going to be. Do you do it on a Tuesday after Raw? Do you do it on a Monday afternoon before Raw? Do you do it on a Wednesday in the middle of the week when nothing's going on? When do you do it? If we get any of that information and we get a bunch of talent layoffs, we'll be up here to talk about it whenever that happens this week. So just stay tuned, subscribe, all that jazz, and good to see you guys here on this lovely Saturday. Let's cruise to the chat. Say hello to everybody that's hanging out. I want to thank Mab. Nice, awesome year-long channel member chiming in with $10. Thank you, dude. What a fever dream last night's SmackDown was. Hope you're having a great Saturday, Greg. I am day drinking because the Blue Jays are absolutely brutal to watch play. The Blue Jays. Oh, man. So you are in Toronto. That little CA there gives that away. Or maybe they're just your favorite team and you're not in Toronto, but looks like you're in Canada. That's a shame, man. I'm sorry that the Blue Jays are giving you the blues. I know what that's like, man. I'm not far from you, or I'm far from you, but I was not born far from you in Detroit, and I'm still loyal to all of those sports teams. And the Lions and the Tigers have given me a lot to cry about. And the Tigers have even had a couple of good years getting to the World Series and fell short. So at least the Blue Jays had a couple of good years there in 91 with the Joe Carter home run and the Phillies and the Braves and all that stuff. But sorry that your Blue Jays are sucking, but I can relate because I'm from Detroit. Hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays will turn things around. I rooted for them hard back in the day when I was a kid and they were to the World Series and they won 2 in a row. I was on their side because everybody around me, all the little snot-nosed punks that I was hanging out with, we were all rooting for the Phillies or the Braves in those 2 World Series, and it drove me crazy. I'm like, I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. Fuck you guys. So go Blue Jays. Mab, great to see you. Thanks for being here. Tatanani, the Juliet Isaac, and Zach Powgett, Max Pokebra. We got Deshaun Robinson, Sonic Plays, Fox Star Killer, Financial Truth Academy hitting all the members first, and Luke McAllister chiming in, another year-long channel member. Thank you so much, dude. Again, I had originally planned to do a members-only Saturday night's main event watch-along today, but when The Rock came back last night, I'm like, I think we got to come up and talk about that. So we will be resuming the Saturday night's main events for you channel members, I promise. Maybe we can pick those back up on Tuesday afternoon and try to knock a couple of those out this week. I will let you know. Either way, thank you for your patience on that. And Luke, thanks for being here. What's up, Greg? I personally have no interest in seeing The Rock versus Roman right now. Cody is my pick to dethrone Roman. Hopefully WWE uses Jade Cargill as well as Cody Rhodes, assuming she signs, of course. Yes, assuming Jade Cargill does sign, I want you guys to stay tuned and listen to what I have to say about her debuting in WWE, because there's been a lot of talk about where should she debut, how should she debut, and a lot of these things kind of involve surprises, and I've got a completely different spin on Jade Cargill's debut, so just stay tuned for that. But you're also going to hear from me in a minute, Luke, talk about Roman Reigns and The Rock, and you are going to hear me agree with you. So just stay tuned for that as well. Thank you, Luke, for being here. Who else can I say hello to? Ramon Coffee and the Juliet, and How Wheezy and Titanium Titan. I'm not sure if I got you either. Thank you, channel members, for being here. Let's circle back and hit Green P. David. We have Ryan Adams, Rodrigo, Mike Rouse, Red Sea Gaming. We got Toro Hill. We have Ronnie Matthews. Good to see you. Denny Downbad, Stephen Harris. We've got my boy, Barry MK, chiming in from Hawaii. Jet the Hawk is here as well. Stephen Harris, Big J, David Brown, S.R. Wilson. Is not excited at all. Doesn't need doesn't need to be for the title. I cannot stand another year of Roman as champion. It's nauseating at this point. Well, it's going to get more nauseating at this point because let's just say, well, I'm going to save this for later, but if they do Roman versus Rock, I'll just save it for later. I'm just saying one thing I'm going to say later is that I'm not ruling out him breaking Hogan's record. And in order for Roman Reigns to break Hulk Hogan's record, 4-year record of being champion, he will have to hold the title for one more year. It will be about 1 year around this point, maybe a year and change from now, maybe a year and a month, year and 2 weeks, something like that. From this moment is what it's going to take for Roman to beat Hogan's record. And that's still a long time. But I'm about to talk a lot about that. Fox Star Killer, good to see you in here. Appreciate you, 9-month member. Hey, if somebody got knocked up on the day you became a member, they're having a baby today. That's pretty crazy. Happy Saturday to you too, Fox Star. On vacation for the rest of this month. Thought I'd drop by for the stream, particularly since I heard that my main man, The Rock, showed up on The Rock's show. That he did, and that is what we're going to open with. Thank you, Fox Star, for that tremendous segue there. All right. So The Rock has returned to WWE, showing up last night on SmackDown. But before he did that, he was a guest on the Pat McAfee show, which I think was on location in Denver. They were outside for this thing, and The Rock had some interesting things to say regarding WWE and the match that apparently was set to happen at WrestleMania 39. It was a match that I thought was going to happen for sure. I thought that if we were ever going to get a Roman Reigns and Rock match, it would happen whenever WrestleMania came to LA. Of course, WrestleMania 38 was bumped because of the pandemic, and then it turned out to be WrestleMania 39 instead. And they ended up giving the match to Cody Rhodes. And that match, Cody and Roman, has a whole separate slew of its own debates, and questions as to whether or not the right decision was made there. But apparently it was originally going to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And some of the things that The Rock said, they were like outside. It looked like a college game day setup or something. But a few things that The Rock said in the podcast appearance was very interesting. And I'm going to read you some transcripts here that I pulled from Fightful. Thank you to Fightful for these transcripts here. Here's what The Rock had to say about his match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania this year. And I quote, "The Rock headlining WrestleMania with Roman Reigns, SoFi Stadium, that was locked." This is Rock talking to Pat. "That was locked. We were doing it. But let me just tell you, in the beginning of 2022, Nick Khan, very good friend, he's the man. He was very instrumental in bringing Vince and I together. We all flew to LA. We met. We sat. This was the beginning of 2002. We broke out the Terramana. I think that's his tequila. We toasted life. We toasted the business we love. And about an hour later, we started talking about the potential of what this match could be between myself and Roman Reigns headlining WrestleMania 39. We shook hands and we hugged right there, all three of us at the table, and said, let's do this. So then we had a year to really think about it. So the North Star thought was, interesting term, North Star, okay, let's not do something good. Let's do something great. Let's do something unprecedented. It was in what we can create for the fans. It was in what can we create for the fans that has never been done before. A match, great. Roman, incredible athlete. He's going to be on Mount Rushmore. Super handsome, good dude, my cousin, family, amazing. We have the match. But the bigger thought was, what can we do for the fans and the business that we love, where WrestleMania isn't the end of something, it's actually the beginning of something bigger. When I read that, I said, he wanted to win. He wanted to win. That's exactly what this is, because listen to what he goes on to say here. And I quote, we got close. We got really, really close, but we couldn't actually nail down what that thing was. So we decided to put our pencils down. We agreed, hey, listen, there's a merger coming up. Eventually that will happen. There's WrestleMania in Philly, raises his eyebrow. I'm saying that's a potential too. I'm open. But again, let's figure out what that is, because the fans deserve something just incredible and unprecedented. Not only that, but I also want to deliver to the locker room and the boys and the girls in the back who are working their asses off. You know how you can deliver, Rock, to the boys and the girls in the back who work their asses off? You know what you can do for them? You can fucking lose, man. He goes on to say, what we can do to put them in a position, what can we do to put them in a position where they're part of something that is a new change, an era in this world of pro wrestling? Vince is a big picture thinker, as you know. This is why we've gotten along for so many years, just trying to think big picture. So he went on to say a lot more than that, but those are the two interesting paragraphs there that I wanted to read, because the way that reads to me, I don't know how it's coming off to you guys, but that sounds to me like his pitch was to beat Roman Reigns, and WWE pushed back. What else could it be? And when you think about Rock saying maybe WrestleMania isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of something bigger. In my head, that means what he probably pitched was him winning the title, holding the title for a while, and then Roman Reigns beating him back for it, probably setting up something awfully similar to what he did with John Cena 10 years ago. And we know how that ended. It started out fantastic. I loved the match at WrestleMania 28. I loved it. I loved the build. I thought it was fun. I thought the match delivered. Rock hadn't been in the ring in a while. He still delivered pretty good. It felt like a main event. The big video package tributes to each guy, the Rock concerts, the Flow Riders, and the Machine Gun Tracy's or whatever the fuck came out there and did the whole thing. It was such a presentation. But by the time we got to that WrestleMania 29, everything was lost, and the opportunity to do something big, the opportunity to do a heel turn, anything like that, when that wasn't done, and they just stuck with their big picture plan that they had like 2-3 years earlier and just went with that, it became predictable. It became stale. We saw it coming. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't unprecedented. It wasn't the new beginning of anything. It was the continuation of something that already sucked, and that did not end well. So if Rock has got some sort of similar idea, it might start out good, but if you were to carry it out and see it through to the end, I think a lot of fans would see that coming. So when Rock uses language like not the end of something, but WrestleMania being the beginning of something, or we couldn't really put our finger on what would make this match great. It's not rocket surgery, Rock. What would make the match great is for you to put over your cousin and really anoint him as the top star of the modern era. There's never going to be anybody bigger than him. And this is a guy that's, having a title run that's rivaling the Hogans and the Backlunds. Maybe not Bruno, but at least the Hogans and the Backlunds. He's setting all kinds of records. He's gone on to be one of the most dominant champions they've had in the same era that Brock Lesnar's in. You lose to him, Rock. You are 51 fucking years old. If this was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, then maybe. If this would have happened before Roman really transitioned into this character that he is, and he hasn't held the belt for 3 years or 3.5 years that it's going to be by the time WrestleMania rolls around, you, Dwayne, as much as I love you, adore you, I am a huge, monumental, giant fangirl fucking mark for The Rock. Full disclosure. But you are not the one to beat him. And that's just fucked up. If you were the one to take the title off of Roman, this history-making title run, this victory that could be used to elevate the shit out of a regular current roster member that's on the cusp of greatness, like a Cody, like an LA Knight, like a Gunther, like a Jey Uso, a whole bunch of possibilities that could be the guy to do it. The Rock can't be the one to do it. There was a lot of debate about the Undertaker's streak ending and if Brock was the right guy to do that. But luckily he was Brock, it was like, it made it easier to swallow, Brock being the guy who didn't really need the win type of thing, but getting it anyway. It's not the same situation as that. I was in defense of Brock being the guy just because of what it did for him, how it made him and put him on that dominant run. Rock is a movie star. He's the biggest movie star in the world. And whenever the fuck this strike ends, he's probably going to go right back to that world and that life. And if he does have time to give to WWE, it's only going to be for a short time. And I don't know how it benefits anybody in the pro wrestling world to have The Rock be the guy to end Roman Reigns' title run. Sure, it would play into the family aspect bloodline part of the story, but I think a lot of fans would scoff at that. I think a lot of fans would have an issue with that. I would. I don't get mad and pissed off and freak out and foam at the mouth like some fans do. But I certainly wouldn't be happy about it if it turned out to be The Rock. I feel like that would be unfair. I'm all for Rock coming in and working a match. Absolutely. I'm all for Rock coming in and working a program, a year-long program. I wouldn't even be opposed to Rock beating Roman Reigns somewhere within that program. But not be the guy to end this historic run that he's on. And I don't want to I don't like to accuse The Rock of having a big ego, but he does. He's not obnoxious about it like Hogan and some other people. Rock's a very humble, down-to-earth guy at the end of the day, even though he does have that ego. But you think about, I never watched any of the Fast and Furious movies, but I heard about like the falling out that he had with Vin Diesel and the personal issues the two of them had. And then you hear things like when they're filming the movies, they have an agreement about how many punches they can take. Like Rock can never take more punches than he throws. He can never look weaker than the other guy. The other guys, I think Diesel and Statham had the same shit in their contracts. You have egos at this level, and The Rock isn't a movie star like Tom Hanks, where, actually Tom Hanks always plays baby faces in movies, but there's plenty of actors that don't seem to really give a shit if they're a baby face or a heel, or if they get killed, or if they're a weak character or a strong character. Most of the time, you're just an actor. You do what you do. But Rock is kind of different because he's an action star. He's an Arnold Schwarzenegger type of guy. So he's got to be a little bit more protective. I suppose I understand that, but he's not, this isn't Hollywood. This is wrestling. This is the business that kind of put you where you are. You should give back. And Rock just coming back and being present in a way is him giving back as well. But I don't want to remember The Rock as somebody that came in, because there's certainly no business he doesn't need the money or anything like that. This isn't him trying to be greedy or take up a spot or get a big WrestleMania payday. Rock does not need, he could donate every fucking dime of it to charity, he'd be fine. He doesn't need the money, doesn't need the payday. None of that should matter at all. So I don't understand why he would be hesitant to coming in and doing the job. It sounds like, he wants to win. So if that's what he wants to do, if he wants to have an actual program with Roman Reigns, then I say, you got to do it after he drops the title. Like, for example, if they're having some negotiations here and Rock's like, I want to beat Roman at WrestleMania. Well, we got to get the belt off of him before then, because you can't be the guy. So I'm hoping that if this match comes together, Rock will agree to lose. And again, I wouldn't just take the title off of Roman, pretend Roman's not a champion right now. Then I don't care. Then beat Roman, whatever, don't fucking care. But the fact that Roman has had that title for so long, it's not going to sit well with me if Dwayne takes it from him. I kind of think that's bullshit. Now, you could also look at the other side of that argument, but Greg, did you not see SmackDown last night? Did you not hear the pop from that crowd? I heard it. It was great to see The Rock. It was great to see 51-year-old Rock. I wish he had been around more often. 10 years ago, when he faced John Cena at WrestleMania 29, I thought that, well, hell, it's been longer than that now. WrestleMania are we on? Yeah, 10 years ago at WrestleMania 29, I felt like he was past his prime then. That was 10 years ago. Now he's 51. Of course, he's still a great athlete, but, what kind of a match can he really do? You're going to have to book the match in a way a lot like Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18. It's going to have to be something like that. This is not going to be Eddie and Kurt Angle. You know what I mean? So I think that Rock, just based on where he is in his life and everything, if this is an ego thing for him, if this is something that he does not want to take this loss on a stage this big, then you just don't do the match, Dwayne. Because if the only holdup, if you're only going to do it if you win, WWE needs to stand their ground and say, no, you're not winning this one. You can win this one or this one or this one, but you're not winning this one. You can't be the guy. If he wants to be champion, then have him beat Seth Rollins. Then fine. I don't give a shit about that belt. It's the fact that Roman has had this history-making run that whenever it ends is going to be talked about for a long time. And I think not only are you going to remember Roman's run, you're going to remember the person that beat him. And The Rock is going to create a huge moment. Rock beats Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania 40 and celebrates with the crowd. That's going to be amazing. But where does it take you from there? How in the world does that benefit Roman, WWE, the fans, anything? Sure, it gave us a great moment, but fans in the Northeast are a little gnarlier. And if you do something that predictable, there is a very good chance they will turn on The Rock. There is. It's happened before. So I just think that that's all very, very risky, having Rock be the guy to end Roman Reigns' run. And I don't want to see that happen. So if that's the only way the match can happen, then I don't want the match. I was blessed to see The Rock wrestle in person countless times. I got so close to him. I met him. I touched him. He rammed a barricade into my elbow and bruised it and hurt me for a week after Austin clotheslined him into my lap and he was laying in my lap. I've seen him wrestle at pay-per-views. I've seen him lose the WWE title. I've seen him successfully defend the WWE title. I was in the crowd when Beeper 316 happened. I was in the crowd for This Is Your Life. I was able to absorb all of Rock's career and see a lot of his great moments in person. So this particular wrestling fan doesn't need Rock versus Roman. I don't need it. I've had all my Rock fill. I experienced it, all of it. I remember all of his moments, all of his matches. I have those memories. I cherish those memories. I don't want those to be tarnished by a 51-year-old Rock showing back up with his movie star status and say, oh, no, I'm going to be the guy to leapfrog the Codys, the Jays, the LA Knights, the Gunthers, and I'm going to be the guy to take that belt off of him. Fuck you. No, you're not. No, you're not. I flat out refuse, Rock. I'm in charge of WWE now. It's Greg's company. I'm the CEO of TKO. You're not winning. You're not winning. So that's how I feel this match should go. It should not be a Roman Reigns victory. And WrestleMania 40 now is making me a little bit nervous. It's kind of exciting because we don't know what's going to happen. And there's also the possibility that WWE could continue their 10-year tradition of doing a triple threat. WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 30. They could do Cody, Rock, Roman. They could do Cody, Gunther, Roman. They could do Cody, Gunther, Roman, Rock. Fatal four-way. If it makes them feel better. Who knows what they could do. But I would like to see it be Cody. I still very much like Cody. But I worry for Cody now. Because now Cody has to contend with The Rock floating around. He's going to have to contend with CM Punk possibly coming back into the company as well. He's got LA Knight that is on the rise. He's got Gunther, who is on the rise. Main Event Jay is doing his thing. I think Jay and Jimmy are headline or scheduled for WrestleMania, so he probably doesn't have to worry about that immediately. But Cody has like 3 or 4 other names now that could potentially come in and get in front of the line. And that sucks for him. That really makes me wish that he did win the title at WrestleMania 39. Because if Cody did, some police drives by, you guys you'll never find me. They'll never catch me. Because, you know, with Cody potentially winning at WrestleMania 39 this past year, if he would have won the title, then I wouldn't care what they do with Rock and Roman because the title's off Roman. The run has already been ended. Cody's our champion right now, and Rock and Roman can pick up their bloodline thing. And hell, maybe Roman could win the belt back from Cody. See? You know, if Cody won the belt at WrestleMania, that would have been a great moment. And then maybe at Survivor Series, he drops the belt back to Roman and allows Roman to go into WrestleMania to face The Rock. Then, if Rock wants to win the title, I have no problem with it because Cody ended the long run. Roman won it back, dropped it to The Rock. It's the fact that Roman's had the belt the length of time that he's had it that I have the biggest issue with. So the more and more you look at it as each month goes by, the more and more I'm having a hard time justifying WWE's decision to have Roman Reigns beat Cody. I think it was the wrong one. I just do. I think things would have played out easier had Cody been the champion. Maybe Cody would have ran into some problems. He didn't have enough adversity. Like fans give a shit about that. He didn't have enough adversity and all that crap. And I was going to finish the story. Okay, but now people are getting in the way of him finishing his story when he could have just fucking finished it in April and then held the title for a while, bring back the Winged Eagle, do whatever he wanted to do. And then if they do a match, much like Brock always came back and beat Seth, and everybody that beat him for the title seems like he always showed back up and beat them for it. So Roman could do that, win the title back. And then if he drops it to The Rock, I don't care. But if Rock wants to win this one, Greg has a big problem with that. But let's talk about SmackDown, not all of it, just what Rock did. So after he appeared on the Pat McAfee show, and then there was a lot of rumblings that he was actually going to appear on SmackDown because they were both in the same city. As a matter of fact, I think Fightful Select was told directly by somebody in Rock's camp or McAfee's camp that they are going to SmackDown, but they didn't know if they were both going to be on the show or whatnot. And Theory is out there to open the show, and then McAfee comes out and they start talking shit. And McAfee drops all kinds of Rock hints that he's coming out, even says, "This is the People's Show. And do you know what that means?" And then the Rock's music hits and the pop. My God, the pop. Huge. He got the pop when his music hit, and then he got a double pop when he came through Gorilla. Unbelievable. And the dude behind him filming him, just somebody in Rock's camp. That was very cool. They even showed a video on social media of Gorilla of Rock standing there waiting to make his entrance. You saw Brian Gewirtz standing next to him. I think I recognized a couple of other faces, which was kind of cool. So they showed Rock making his entrance. It was incredible. He gets in the ring and Theory talks smack to him, even does the "it doesn't matter" thing to The Rock, which is ballsy. I'm no Theory fan. This dude just, to me, does not connect. But he was in the ring with some star power there, and he held his own. This is a guy that's done stuff in the ring now with The Rock, John Cena, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. All at WrestleMania, too. Didn't Theory get stunned by Austin at WrestleMania 32 last year? Then he worked with Cena this year. And now, he's in there mixing it up with The Rock. There was some Stone Cold shout outs too. Rock even got the crowd to do the hell yeah thing and got the crowd to chant, "You are an asshole, you are an asshole," which had to be heavily edited on Fox because the FCC does not allow that language on Fox. It has nothing to do with PG or PG-13. They can't say that. So you're having "this is you are an asshole" chants all over SmackDown. That was funny. And then Theory attacks him. Theory attacks The Rock. The Rock got physical. Help me, chat. When was the last time The Rock got physical in WWE? I think he might have thrown in a people's elbow or two, but to actually take some punches and fight back, I can think of, WrestleMania 15 with Eric Rowan. What else has he done when he's come back and actually beat somebody up? I know there's been a couple of examples. I just can't think of them right now. So he fights back on Theory, hits him with a spine buster, and then delivers a pretty good-looking people's elbow for somebody who's 51 years young, 5 years older than me, you old fucking man. Rock hits the people's elbow, celebrates with McAfee. Gotta love McAfee. Fucking love him. Celebrates with the crowd. Happy for Denver that they got that moment with The Rock. I got to see The Rock on SmackDown too in recent memory. Back when Kofi, the SmackDown in LA, when Kofi dropped the title. Rock was there for that. That was the last time I think that I've seen The Rock in person was that night. So, good stuff there. SmackDown, we'll talk about more of it in a minute when we talk about the rest of the results. But overall, SmackDown with the appearance of the Rock, John Cena on the show. Like I said, I think Cody might be making his way over there. I think Jade Cargill is going to be a SmackDown girl as well. That show's looking good. And it might not be on Fox forever. TV rights negotiations are coming up. And they might find themselves somewhere else, Amazon, Disney, wherever. But SmackDown might eventually be on a new home at some point. But right now, they're doing crazy-ass numbers on Fox. So that's where we stand right now with The Rock and with him potentially coming back. Let's get into Jade Cargill. But before we do, let me knock out a super chat and a couple of comments here, or a couple of super chats. Not sure if you guys are, I'm kind of scrolling through these hard. I can't read them all. So I'm not sure if you guys are agreeing with what I said about The Rock and Roman Reigns, or if you say, "Oh, no, Greg, Rock should beat him." I don't know what you guys are thinking. Yeah, Julia, Tom Hanks does have no ego, although it does feel like he always has to play a hero or a really, really admirable character. It would be funny to see Tom Hanks play a heel. Is there a movie where he's a heel? I don't think so. I don't think he's a bad guy or a villain in anything. I think it would be interesting to see him play that, but it might not be more his ego, but it just might be roles he prefers to play. And if you're an actor, you have the right to prefer to play roles. It's your life. Ruben Litton, appreciate the $5 from you, dude. What's up, Uncle Greg? When are we getting back to the members only Saturday night's main events? We were supposed to today. This is twice now. I've had them planned for a Saturday afternoon, but then something big happened and I came up and do a podcast instead. Maybe we could knock out one tomorrow afternoon, but there's a lot of football on. I don't want to take away from that. So I think we might try like a Tuesday thing. And and I might try to knock out a couple of episodes so we can at least get through 1986. And Elizabeth is going to be joining me for a members only video as well. We just need to get these figured out. Sorry about my busy life. If I was doing this full time, we'd have no issues. But when I'm trying to balance a career and a job and, Elizabeth's doing the same thing and trying to do this all together, it can be a little exhausting, but it's still fun. And that's what's important. Deshaun Robinson, appreciate the $9.99 from you. If it was me, I would have had Cody win at Mania, have the rematch at SummerSlam, the Usos versus Solo and Roman at Survivor Series, Jay versus Roman at next year's Rumble, and then Roman at Rock at WrestleMania 40. That sounds great because that keeps all of the bloodline stuff moving. And I feel like Cody winning the title still would have given the bloodline a great dynamic. Roman Reigns blaming everybody and all that shit. So stretching out like that makes a lot of sense, Deshaun, especially when you hear things like from Paul Heyman, things like, "Oh, we're only in the third inning." Well, if you really plan on stretching this out, you should have stretched out some of this more. You know what I mean? Zach Powgett, 13-month member. Do you think Roman is politicking to keep his belt? No, I mean, I'm sure there's a fair amount of politicking involved, but I think WWE at this point is really sold on this historic run of his. I think WWE wants to make Roman one of their iconic figures in history. They want to make him Hogan and Bruno level. They were able to kind of achieve that with John Cena. WWE's insisting on putting the greatest of all time before his name, even in internal reports. The greatest of all time, John Cena. Why do they do that? Why do they have to say the greatest of all time as if we don't know that? Of course we know John Cena is the greatest of all time. Get out of here. But, I don't think Roman's really much of a politicker, but we also don't know. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know what text messages transpire or what, anything is going on. But Roman does not come off to me as a guy, based on how many matches we've seen him lose before, as a guy that doesn't work for me, brother, type of shit. I don't think that's the environment going on right now in WWE. I'm sure there's certain things that top guys have control over and they can influence with their top guyness. I have no doubt about it. But I don't think the length of Roman's run is because he's insisting on holding the belt. No, not at all. I think it's WWE insisting that more than Roman himself. Michael Cuomo, OG, good to see you, man. My guessing Rock has more time on his hands these days, just like Cena. Yeah, that's why they're there. That's why they're doing more stuff. Keeping oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh yeah, Gilbert, good point. Catch me if you can. But he was still a good dude though. He was a cop. Yeah, I mean, you could look at Leo as the babyface and Tom Hanks as the heel in that, but reality, it's actually the other way around. But that's a pretty good close call there, Gilbert, for Tom Hanksy. Let's talk about Jade Cargill. I've got some thoughts on Jade this week too. I was up here just to discuss the bombshell news a couple of days ago that we got regarding Jade Cargill and the belief. It was right on Wednesday night, very late at night, after the Rampage tapings, and after people read the results of Statlander beating Cargill clean. Just a couple of hours later, out came the reports that the belief is that Jade Cargill is finishing up with AEW and she's going and jumping ship to WWE. That's awesome. I love it when people jump ship. And I talked a lot about this in the Greg Balls of Fire the other day. I said, that's what a lot of the tribal fans really miss out on sometimes, is enjoying how cool it is when wrestlers bounce. I don't care which side they're going to, AEW, WWE, WWE to AEW, whatever. I think it's cool. I really liked it a couple of years ago in AEW when they were hitting us with everybody, Keith Lee and Danielson and Adam Cole. Like, holy shit, boom, 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 boom. And now, seeing them go the other way, some big names going the other way, losing Cody. Punk, even though Punk's a completely different situation, he's not leaving them for WWE. He got booted out, but he might turn back up in WWE. And now Jade Cargill, another big name. We saw William Regal go back to the company. And this is the type of stuff that I really enjoy as a wrestling fan when we have competing companies here in North America, because we have all of this, jumping back and forth. And we haven't really had this on this level since the days of WCW. And for the life of me, I can't understand why fans don't want to appreciate that. And instead, they just want to make themselves mad and argue all day. I'm like, this is cool. So Jade leaving AEW for whatever the reasons are, we don't know. Could be anything. We do know that she was had a pretty good relationship with CM Punk. And we have also heard in recent months that her future in the company is up in the air. Maybe she's going to leave the company. Maybe she's not going to stay there. Maybe she's going to move on to other things. And that implied that if that's what she's thinking about doing, that kind of implies that her contract is coming up. So it's possible that during the negotiations of her contract, right in the middle of it, she might have she's okay. She likes the company, likes everybody there, likes who she works with, likes the money she makes. But maybe there's a couple things that she hasn't loved, like the drama surrounding CM Punk. Some of the other, use or booking of the women's division. Even Jade at 60-0 didn't seem to have a whole lot of Dynamite matches, not a lot of Dynamite main events. She didn't really seem to be in the mix at the top, and she seemed to kind of be doing her own thing, like Jade Island. And I kept saying, stick her in the title picture. She was kind of doing the Gunther thing in AEW, but I'm like, put her with the Brits and put her in the world title mix. And I was really hoping that when Jamie Hayter was champion, that they would build a Jade Cargill and Jamie Hayter champion versus champion match at All In. I was like, what a match to book. Tell me the fans wouldn't mark out for that. But they were nowhere. That wasn't even on Tony Khan's radar. Probably never even crossed his weird ass mind, man. So you combine that, and then you get to All In, and Jade sees the fight, or maybe she wasn't there. She wasn't even on All In. But, she hears about the fight between Jungle Boy and Punk. Punk gets fired. Maybe she's fed up with it. You know what? I'm not staying here. I'm going to go to WWE, try my luck over there. My contract is up. And that was the final straw, perhaps. We don't really know. But nothing has really changed in the last couple of days since Wednesday. The belief still is in both companies that Jade is, in fact, finishing up with AEW and jumping to WWE. So if she's finishing up with AEW, when is her contract up? Based on how they've used her, it kind of implies their contract might be up pretty soon. It feels like they got her in and got that match done quickly, right? She showed up on Collision just a week ago. 1 week ago, she returned. And we're like, oh, great, Jade Cargill's back. 4 days later, we hear she's leaving. So that makes me think that her contract is up rather soon, because if it was up in another 2 months, you could continue negotiations. You could wait to bring her back and do the job or whatever, or keep her on the back burner. The fact that they brought her back on a Saturday and then had her lose clean on a Wednesday in what is likely going to be her final match makes me think that her contract is probably up soon, maybe at the end of the month, maybe right now. We don't know. Now, there is the off chance I saw somebody put this on Twitter. Do you think she's using WWE as leverage to get more money out of Tony Khan? Maybe. Raj Giri thinks she's sticking around in AEW. I don't. I don't think she's sticking around. I think all of the evidence, and based on the people who've reported what they've heard, I trust them. And I think she's going to WWE. But there's also always the chance, for sure, that maybe it's just a leveraging type of thing to try to get more money. And if Tony Khan thinks she's leaving, then, okay, WWE's offering you this, I'll give you this. But Tony Khan seems to be ready to cut his losses with her, because he brought her back. She jobbed very graciously to Statlander last night. They had the little show of respect and the hug and the handshake and all of that. And it was a nice little goodbye for her. She's handled herself completely respectful. I know a lot of the girls and the talent likes her backstage. She's got a good reputation. She doesn't come off as somebody that's got an ego based on how glamorous and the presence that she has. You would think somebody like that would have fucking attitude, but apparently she doesn't behind the scenes. So maybe that's the case, but if I trust my instinct most of the time, and my instinct tells me that she probably is jumping to WWE, and that is a great move for her. We've always heard that Jade has got aspirations to do other things. She will get the most exposure in WWE. She will get the most of it there. WWE is just a bigger company. They can feature her more, showcase her more, and use her unique look and talents in other ways that aren't just so one-dimensional with, one guy, Tony Khan, trying to manage all this stuff, and not maybe giving the proper amount of time to some of the stars that he has, and sometimes not knowing what he has. As much as I loved AEW and defend Tony Khan, they have some issues here or there, and sometimes they don't quite grasp what they have. And that's not an exclusive problem to AEW. We've been bitching about that same thing for decades with WWE. Especially before AEW came around, pre-AEW days, and even the first 2 years of AEW, all the way up until basically the Vince scandal, WWE sucked. Completely out of touch. The most boring, lifeless, passionless, emotionless, formulaic wrestling you could ever ask for was boring us to sleep. They were the ones with the tarped off arenas. They were the ones pulling 3,000 fans for SmackDown. Things were not good. Just a couple of years ago, AEW came around, made WWE wake up a little bit. Oh, we just can't do whatever we want anymore. We have a competitor out there. And then the Vince scandal a couple of years later really gave him that push to remove him, and the toxicity of his presence and what that can do to your TV, your product, and your creative. You get him out of there. You put Triple H in place, who's a little bit more in his place, who's a little bit more in tune with what a modern fan might want than, the old man. And look at what's happened. It's been a complete 180. Now WWE's doing record numbers. They're pulling in huge attendance, selling out TVs, where just a couple of years earlier, it was half tarped off. And in those days, AEW was really on the rise. AEW was the place to be. And then now WWE's kind of here. That's the way it goes. That's the way it was before in the NWA, WCW, and WWE. And that's why I'm trying my best not to be so critical of the tribal fans, but that's one thing that really bothers me about them is they claim to know so much about wrestling. Well, if you knew so much about wrestling, you would understand that this happens, when you have competition. And so now when WWE's doing great numbers, they're singing from the rooftops, AEW's over, they're done. I'm like, you have to be ridiculously ignorant on a level almost impossible to parody if you actually think that that's true. AEW is going nowhere. As a matter of fact, they're about to sign a streaming deal with Max apparently next year. They are still going to be a functioning company doing things, putting on good TV, even with all of AEW's turmoil and bullshit. Their TVs and pay-per-views have still been splendid, very, very good, regardless of the booking issues that they do have here and there and some of the mistakes the company has made along the way. They are still delivering very good TV and very good pay-per-views. They're going nowhere, no matter how much you want for them to go away, So they're here to stay. It's good to have two companies at the same time because you can watch them get better, drop off, the other one get better, take the lead, that type of thing. And that is what makes competition fun. That's what keeps both companies on their toes. WWE in their big TKO statement listed AEW as an actual competitor. So that should silence anybody that says they're not a real competitor. They are. And that competition, like we talked about before AEW even started up, we said competition makes the other companies better. And I think that's been proven since AEW's came in, because in 2019, WWE was not dazzling us. They were not setting the world on fire. They were boring us the fuck to sleep. And they continued to for the next couple of years until they finally got their act together. And I don't know what's going on now, but now it's just like, it's like the Wizard of Oz when you leave Kansas and it's all in black and white, and then you get to Oz and it's all in color. This is the way it is for WWE now, and that's great. But that won't last forever. That can also fall off. Fan interest can be lost again. WWE can do something else to alienate the audience. And then AEW does something to get our attention. And then you've done it again. And this is what we like. It's not just fans have the attention span of a goddamn gerbil, man. They think whatever's going on right now is the end of it. And that's why I always complained about people bitching about John Cena wins, because they were like, oh, the business is over. John Cena's ruined the business. They act like John Cena winning the title is the last match that's ever going to happen in the WWE. Wrestling is over now. I'm like, no, it's going to continue tomorrow. There's going to be a SmackDown on Monday and a Raw on Monday, a SmackDown on Friday, and the world will just keep on spinning, whether John Cena wins or loses. It doesn't matter. So I think that fans who claim to be educated, claim to know shit about the business, the fact that they don't understand just how regular competition works is pretty comical to me. So I think that when Jade finally makes that jump and Jade comes into the WWE, that's going to be really interesting. And that's what I liked about the WCW and WWE days. It was fun seeing somebody come over. I loved seeing Austin come to WWE. I thought it was cool that Austin, Foley, Vader, Mark Mero, Dustin Rhodes all came into the WWE. And then Hall, Nash, Bossman, Hogan, Earthquake, even Honky all showed up in WCW. And it's kind of and Davey Boy, and back in the early 90s, it was always fun to watch wrestlers change scenery, because it gives them kind of a fresh start, a rebirth, and it remotivates them. And then it remotivates the fans too. Oh, we got a whole new reason to care about this guy or girl. And that's fun. So Jade jumping to WWE is super interesting to me. And it's going to be really interesting when she shows up. Now, the big question is, when and where should Jade Cargill debut? That's been a big topic of conversation. Some fans feel like she should go to NXT. Some fans feel like she's too big for NXT. She should go right to the main roster. I feel both. I feel that Jade has already had her exposure, her 60-0 run in AEW. People know who she is. There's really no reason to even change her name, to be honest, because people know her as Jade Cargill. So I feel like she's ready to be on the main stage, but I also don't think it would hurt to give her some time in the Performance Center to learn WWE's system, get acclimated to that, and maybe, improve a little bit in the ring with those coaches and those trainers. I know she's been working out with Danielson and some other people on the AEW side of things, but being in WWE's training facility and actually putting in some hours there is only going to benefit her, So the way I see Jade debuting isn't the same way as what everybody else is speculating. Does she show up at Survivor Series? Does she show up at the Royal Rumble? Does she come out and confront Charlotte? I don't think it's going to be like that. I think what WWE needs to do with Jade is treat her like a real legitimate free agent. Give her the Logan Paul signing, give her the Taka Michinoku in 1998 treatment, where she comes in, her signing is publicly announced on social media. You get a photo op with her and Triple H. And then in 2 years, when she re-ups her contract, you can just change the color of the water bottle, just use the same picture and do the big photo op. WWE is pleased to announce the signing of superstar free agent Jade Cargill. Very exciting, very excited for her future in the company and blah, 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 right? Then once you do that, now the announcement's public. Surprises are great and everything, but with Jade, I don't think she would she would get a huge pop if she came out and surprised everybody. But we get surprises a lot. We've had great debuts. For example, I don't know if she would get the type of ovation that like AJ Styles got when he debuted at the Rumble. Plus, we didn't even know what music he was going to have. It's not like he had recognizable music. When Jericho debuted, he didn't have recognizable music either. In both of those instances, it took their names showing up on the Tron to give that caused the pop and the roar of the crowd. So with Jade, if she was just going to turn up on TV somewhere, you'd have to have Jade Cargill on the Tron as she came out in order to get that pop. But I don't think you really need to do that here. You can still have her in-ring debut be a surprise if you want it to be. But in terms of her signing with the company, that I think should be publicly announced. You should treat her like LeBron and sign her, make a big deal about it on social media. I remember back in 1998 when WWE signed Taka Michinoku and Vince looked very happy. They were so late to the party on the cruiserweight stuff that the best talent out there left to get was Taka. And he was great, don't get me wrong, but it was a depleted lightweight division because WWE or WCW had all the cruiserweights, they had all the luchadors, they had everything. And so WWE didn't really have, anybody to snag. So when they got Taka, it was like they were so excited about it. They made a big deal about his signing and Vince and smiling and the whole deal, multi-year shit. And that was like the first time I can remember them doing something like that. Maybe Brian Pillman. They kind of did it with Pillman in 96. They had like a big kayfabe press conference with J.J. Dillon and all that when he came into WWE after his accident. And then Taka. But then in recent years, it's mostly been like NXT signings. I think they might have done that with like Shinsuke Nakamura, maybe Io Sky or some other Japanese wrestlers that they might have done the thing. But I feel like with Jade Cargill, that's how her entry in the company needs to happen. It needs to be a public announcement of a free agent signing, photo op with Triple H, maybe Chuck Nick Khan or in there if you want to, and then just say Jade Cargill is coming to WWE. Then you've got your options open. Then you can run debut vignettes while she works out in the PC. If people think NXT is too small of a stage for her, fine. Run return vignettes for 2 months and let her work out in the PC every day until then. And just get used to the system. Pick the brain of Shawn Michaels. Just be there. Be around the people that you're going to be working with, the people that you're leapfrogging and going up to the main roster. But a lot of these people, men and women, you're going to see on the main roster in a very short amount of time. These are going to be your peers. These are going to be your coworkers, and get her in there, get her moving, and then run vignettes for her to debut. And then maybe she just debuts in a squash match on SmackDown. And it's not a Rumble appearance or something like that. I would put her face to face with Charlotte as soon as I could. Although I do worry Charlotte would beat her, but I hope not. And Jade coming in is just going to be really fun to see. And there's a million different ways you could do it, the Rumble, Survivor Series, or whatever. But if her contract is up, and her contract is up, for example, like at the end of September, then you get her in, man. You get her in, sign. That's why I think it's going to be a social media type of announcement. WWE has signed Jade Cargill, and I hope they don't change her name. If they do, and they absolutely must drop the Cargill, at least keep Jade. At least keep Jade. That way she can always retain that. And I'm hoping that she knows that too. I'm hoping she wants to keep her name because why wouldn't she? I hope she can negotiate that in. Chelsea Green's name is Chelsea Green. Well, I guess it's Chelsea Cardona these days. Natty Neidhart, Shayna Baszler. Why can't she be Jade Cargill? I hope they don't give her some silly ass name. I remember when Jericho signed in 99, there was rumors in the sheets that he was going to be called Excalibur, like the announcer on AEW. That was going to be Jericho's name, Excalibur. And I read that. I'm like, Please fucking tell me they are not going to name him Excalibur. And they didn't. He was Chris Jericho. So if Cody Rhodes can be Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk can be CM Punk, and Shayna Baszler can be Shayna Baszler, and Chelsea Green can be Chelsea Green, why can't Jade Cargill be Jade Cargill? When she's already had a run and exposure with that name, fans know her as that. To bring her in now and give her some WWE NXT name, Misty Carmichael or something fucking ridiculous, I can't take it. So just make her Jade and bring her in like a rock star, like a superstar free agent signing, and get her in the mix with the Charlottes and the Biancas and the Rheas as soon as you can, but also make sure she's ready for that stage. Just don't throw her out there. You know, you got to make sure she's ready and she can do it. And that's why if you don't want to have her in NXT, I think she at least needs to spend some time in the PC before you debut her on the main roster. That's just, in my mind, the way it has to go. But what do I know at the end of the day? But either way, it's going to be really interesting to see when Jade comes in and how all that goes down. So stay tuned for that. Kevin, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there, Paulie. I'm really happy about the potential for a John Cena and AJ Styles tag team. That's just fun. I love their relationship. I loved their feud back in the day. They revisit it a couple of times, and now the fact that they have this mutual respect, and AJ was on top of TNA for so long when Cena was on top of WWE. And you always heard the fans, oh, hey, Cena can't wrestle. He's nothing compared to AJ. And then the two of them come together in WWE, have multiple Match of the Year candidates. I love Cena and AJ together, whether they're friends or whether they're opponents. They're always money. They're always money together. Clyde says, have Jade debut to squash someone that Adam Pearce is punishing in kayfabe. That's a good idea. And then have her backstage doing an interview stating her intentions and end with that. That's a good idea, you know, if you just want to bring her in that way. That's kind of cool. Yeah, you just got to have Adam Pearce. And would you bring her, would she be heel or babyface? That's another thing I'm not sure about with Jade. If she's going to be a heel and a babyface. You already have Rhea as a dominant heel. Bianca's kind of on the shelf right now. When she comes back, she might go heel. So would Jade be a heel as well if you got Rhea and Bianca? I guess Charlotte is a face right now. So if she got in Charlotte's face, I think she would have to be a heel. But either way, coming in to squash somebody and being brought in that way and then doing the interview, that would work. That would work too. Is anybody here? Nope, I'm good. There you go. Hunter giving her a new stage name, Jade Storm. Oh my God. Anyway, let's okay, Ronnie says Tom Hanks was a bad guy in the movie Lady Killers. I never saw Lady Killers, so I'll have to look at that. I'll look that one up. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about CM Punk too. Punk was part of the announce team for Cage Fury Fighting on Friday night, and they were joking about his future, and he looked at his watch and he said, well, I've got about 2 months of free time. Exactly 2 months from, I think, yesterday is the Survivor Series in Chicago. So while nothing has been confirmed here, if you try to read the message from CM Punk, he said he has 2 months of free time. Is that part of the agreement? Well, actually, it's probably not an agreement. If he was terminated from AEW, is there something in there contractually that gives him a 60-day no-compete? I don't know. I thought if you're just terminated with cause without, you know, and just completely cut off, you can do whatever you want. But maybe not. There might be some contract language in there that makes him wait 60 days before he turns up anywhere else. But he implied that it's 2 months. So start your clocks. Is CM Punk coming back in? How's that all going to work? I feel like WWE might bring him in connection with the UFC. I don't know. That story about William Regal is also interesting too, because back when Punk got in William Regal's face, apparently when Regal debuted in AEW, that was during a time when Punk was probably feeling pretty secure in AEW. He hadn't had the problems yet. He thought Adam Page and the Elite and Jungle Boy were just peachy back then when he got in Regal's face. Now everything is shit the bed, and now he's going to have to make good on that, or at least apologize. I mean, are you going to be able to be hired back by WWE and then your first day on the job, Regal's right there at Gorilla and say, I still hate you. You're a stooge for that dude sitting next to you. Is that what he's going to do? So sometimes Punk, it's just best just to shut your fucking mouth, man. All these crazy grudges. He's so goddamn hell-bent on letting everybody knows how he feels about them. This one might bite him in the ass. Triple H and William Regal are tight. You know, Regal's gonna be like, do what you want to do, boss, but I hate the fucking kid, you know, or whatever. You know, I don't think Triple H is gonna not bring Punk in just because of Regal, but something like that can't help, you know? So maybe that's one thing that Punk was trying to do over the summer is get back to WWE to try to make amends there. Maybe one of the people he wanted to talk to that day was William Regal. Oh, yeah, sorry, I said that about you, Regal. And Regal's like, no, you're not. You're only sorry because you have to come back here now. That's the only reason you're sorry, Phil. I can see right through you. But anyway, Punk, that's a whole nother topic of conversation for another time. I think it would be interesting if he came back into WWE and the problems it could cause there. But like I said, I just kind of like to see things that are surreal. And Punk going back to WWE at this point would be very surreal. Just like Cody coming in last year was very surreal. Let's talk about some of the sad things in WWE, like their layoffs. Unfortunately, the reality of capitalism, where mergers happen and top executives receive millions in bonuses, and then the company fires a bunch of people to cut costs, that reared its head yesterday. As we know, the merger was official, I think, on Tuesday between Endeavor and WWE. And on Thursday, WWE sent out a memo to office staff telling them to work remotely on Friday. That was going to be the day that they were going to do their Zoom calls and call everybody and let them know that they've been terminated. So they had everybody stay home. That way everything can be handled professionally and that type of stuff. And apparently they laid off over 100 employees across multiple departments. So best wishes and best of luck to everyone who lost their jobs. Hopefully their severance is something decent. Hopefully they can find work elsewhere, or they have already been looking for it and they have plans. You really hate to see that, especially when you read the amount that these motherfucking executives get in bonuses. Unfortunately, it's just the reality of capitalism. There's nothing you can do about it. It's the way business goes, but it's really hard to read that stuff. Oh, here's $5 million for you, Triple H, for nothing. By the way, all the people, those 24 people in the marketing department that have been here since 1988, they're all fired. Like, what the fuck, man? So 100 employees gone across multiple departments. One notable employee was Dana Warrior. I guess that's not too surprising. She was completely fucking useless. And best of luck to Dana Warrior. But she was one of the employees let go. And there have been reports and rumors that major talent cuts are also coming. These have been planned for a while. And they are going to include main roster and NXT. So they're probably going to wait a few days for the employee layoffs to cool down. I would just do it right in a row, you know, because you're going to get some negative publicity from this type of stuff. They always do. And so if they just let it cool off for a month and then they hit us with a bunch of talent layoffs again, now you're mad at them again. But if you keep them close together, that's why I think Tuesday or Monday before Raw or even Wednesday or something early this week, we get some announcements on this just to keep it all kind of confined. And if you got to do a bunch of ugly shit as part of this merger, stuff that's not fun, like a Band-Aid, just do it all at once. Let the bad publicity flow in, let the people be mad at you, and then let it settle instead of boom, 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 you know, just do it all at once. That would be my, my advice if they are going to be cutting talent. But I don't want to see talent cut. Hopefully some of the talents they cut are big names that make us go, why the hell did they cut them? And then they can maybe hop over to AEW. Otherwise, if it's a lot of lower card, you know, talent, you know, I don't know. I don't know how many of them AEW would really try to scoop up at this point, considering the roster they currently have. You know, they got enough mid-carders and lower carders. You know, they're starting to drop their stars now. Cody, Punk, Jade, all gone in the last 18 months. And that's kind of a lot. So we'll see if and when WWE cuts talent and when that's going to happen. But best of luck to everyone that was laid off or who got the axe on Friday. That's a shame. It's a shame, but unfortunately, it's a reality that nobody can really avoid. Last night's SmackDown, in addition to the Rock appearance, was a really good show. Just quickly, what we saw Finn Balor defeat AJ Styles. Always love to see these two in the ring together. A roll-up win for Balor after interference from Jimmy Uso, who showed up at ringside. Priest and Dom Dom were also out there causing all sort of commotion, so we got a roll-up win for Balor there. We had a big LWO segment in the ring where Rey Mysterio gets asked for a title match by his buddy, his Latino brother, Santos Escobar. So, of course, Rey says yes. It was a big, long, profession of love from Santos and show of respect to Rey as he asked for this title shot. It wasn't just like, I want your belt. It was, I respect you. I love you. I would like a title shot. And of course, Rey agreed. He goes, of course you get a title shot. Yes, they hug. That's going to be trouble. That's going to be bad. That's 100% going to be bad. The same scenario went on with Eddie and Rey. It started all nice and good. WrestleMania 21. Nice competitive match between tag team champions at the time, right? Rey wins. Eddie shakes his hand, but then after that, he turns heel, I think, on TV a couple of weeks later. And then by the time we get to SummerSlam, these guys are fighting in a ladder match for the custody of Dominic. So things can go south quickly. And I think it might be kind of a tribute to that feud where Santos and Rey have a competitive match that Rey wins and we get the handshake, just like when he beat Eddie, but then you get the heel turn and Santos turns heel and then winds up beating Rey for the title in the rematch. That's the way I feel like this is going to go, but we'll wait and see. We'll have to see. Lashley and the Street Profits came out, got in the aisleway, talked smack, and Joaquin and Cruz challenged the Street Profits to a match right there, and the Street Profits got the win. After the match, Lashley and the Street Profits laid out the entire NWO, including Santos and Rey Mysterio. So I think we get a six-man or something next week, I believe. Or there's another match. Something was set up backstage later on in the show that's going to set up another match for next week. LA Knight defeated The Miz one-on-one, completely clean, blunt force trauma for the win. Hopefully, feud over. Feud over. No reason to do another one here. This feels like the end of that. After the match, LA Knight got on the mic and said, it doesn't matter who it is, Roman, Seth, anybody, he's coming for you, or basically put the roster on notice, one of those type of promos. So LA Knight beat The Miz. Asuka beat Bayley in a really fun match. Bayley's hilarious. I loved when she tweeted Becky, took you long enough when she won the NXT title. Bayley is one of my favorite personalities in the company because she's so damn funny. Asuka got the win here with a backslide after Shotzi showed up. So Shotzi's looking real crazy with that short hair. I kind of like it. It's kind of spiky. And she freaked out Bayley and she rolled back in the ring and got hooked in a backslide from Asuka and lost there. And then the main event was a Grayson Waller effect with John Cena. Now, it was really great to see Cena and Rock earlier on in the night share a handshake and hug. And now he's out here on the Grayson Waller effect. Jimmy Uso is out there talking shit to Cena. And the story going on right now in the Bloodline is that Jimmy wants in the Bloodline or thinks he's in the Bloodline. And Paul Heyman is kind of stressing out about it and teased earlier that with Solo, that Solo knows what he needs to do type of thing. So as Jimmy is talking shit to Cena, out comes Solo. He grabs Jimmy like he's going to hit him with the Samoan spike, but then super kicks John Cena instead. And Solo and Jimmy start working over Cena. AJ Styles comes out to make the save and run everybody off. And AJ and Cena stand tall to kind of close the show. And like I said, I love those two guys together, and put those two in a tag team. I'm all about that. So we will probably get maybe a Jimmy and Solo match against AJ and Cena, or maybe Jimmy and Grayson against Cena and AJ. I'm not sure what they're going to do there, but the Bloodline story has really fallen off. I'm having trouble really caring much about it. I don't really care that Jimmy wants in. I'm going to be interested to see what Jimmy and Jay do separately on their respective shows, especially if they are heading for a WrestleMania 40 collision. What they need to do, it needs to be significant on both shows, but you know, the Bloodline, especially when Roman is not even there, is really tough to get as invested in as I was before. You know, just not as interesting, unfortunately. So last night's SmackDown was a pretty damn solid show. And tonight's Collision, even though I think we're going to see some great in-ring work here and the matches are probably all going to be good, the card tonight for Collision does not look great. So I don't think anything too earth-shattering will come out of the show tonight. but we will have a lot of Arthur Ashe and Wrestle Dream previews coming up this week. So that kind of concludes my notes. I'll cruise here to the chat and see if you guys have anything else left to say, and then I'm going to be rolling out of here because I have to head to work. I want to thank Chris Ludek for chiming in with the $5. Hey, Greg, my mom and dad are visiting San Diego in 3 weeks and need to know some good places to go sightsee. They're in their 70s, so I said no gas lamp. Yeah, no gas lamp would be a good idea. Stay away from the crazy crowds. I would just hit coastal stuff. Go to Point Loma or something, or go up to Carlsbad, or walk on the beach, or Balboa Park. You could drive out to the mountains. As long as I've lived here, I'm not as good with the exact places to go around here, but it doesn't seem like you can drive anywhere without seeing amazing scenery. But I would do some coastal or mountain stuff, or head to Balboa or something. Show her or maybe go to Coronado, go over the bridge, go over there and look at the harbor, something like that. That's what I would suggest, especially for someone that age. You don't want to, drag them around to all sorts of crazy stuff. Get them outside, fresh air, nice peaceful stroll. That type of stuff I think would be fun. Rodrigo, appreciate the $2. I wish we had Jade feud Tony Storm and Britt in AEW. I do too. I wish that Jade would have been there long enough to work at the top. I don't really even know if her and Britt Baker were even in the ring together. And I think if Jade would have been able to continue her run, like dropping the TBS title, I thought would be the same as, when Gunther inevitably drops the Intercontinental title, as he's going to be elevated to the main event picture. I thought there was really no way to avoid that with Jade. But now she is going to be jumping ship altogether. It's a shame that AEW did not try to get more out of Jade, because I'll tell you, if she goes to WWE and she becomes a massive star, she might not, based on what I know of Jade's in-ring work. I think there are a lot of women in the WWE who are better in the ring than her, but very few look as good as her. And her ring work isn't bad. She doesn't suck at all. WWE just has some really good talent there. That's all. So she'll improve. Going to the PC, working out there a little bit, just being in WWE system, I think is really going to polish her. And I think the sky is the limit for her, but you'd also need to know those limits. You can't push her right to the main event of WrestleMania the minute she walks in the door, because what are her matches going to look like? So you got to work all that out first. And that's why I think publicly announcing her signing in a social media type of way with a photo op with Triple H signing the contract, that's the way to debut Jade. Let everybody know she's coming in. Then she can work out a little bit in the PC. You can run debut vignettes for her, and then she can just pop up somewhere. And you can still do it as a surprise. You can still make it a surprise. You can still have her show up in the Rumble or Survivor Series, or just randomly on TV one week, because even though you announce her signing, you're not announcing when she's debuting. You're just announcing that she's signed, which means she can turn up at any time. So really, you're not spoiling a surprise, because we already knew she was coming in. So what's the difference if WWE posted on social media or not? That's why I think that's what they're going to do. So look for that. I'll bet you anything that when WWE signs her, that's how they will handle it. I think that's it. Doug Unfunny, Jade NXT or main roster. We just talked all about that. So you're going to have to scroll back and see. But I think she could debut on NXT. I just think it's more about getting her some reps in the PC a little bit. So she could debut in NXT. One thing to think about is that Becky Lynch is currently Tito's dreaming. He's twitching. Pretty funny. Becky Lynch is the NXT champion right now. Now, I just assume that she's going to be dropping that belt back to Tiffany Stratton, but what a way to debut if Jade were to show up in NXT and beat Becky Lynch for the title. That would be a hell of a debut. Surprise her that way. Then she's NXT champion for a while, but then what? If you put her, that's one thing that I've seen a lot of people say, oh, she should come in and win the title. You can't just book her right at the top, because then you've got nowhere to go. You've booked yourself into a corner, essentially, if you have her come in and win a title on her first night. Well, now she's got to lose that title. And you just went too hard too quick. So I think it's got to be something in between, where her debut is a big deal and either a big surprise or just a big moment. But you don't go too quick with her to where you have nowhere to go. but backwards. And I think WWE will probably make the right decision. That's what I said the other day. They're going to, whenever they sign Jade, whenever this happens, as far as we know, they haven't even talked yet. But when this happens, I'm going to trust WWE to know how to handle their investment. They are, they are now, it's not a McMahon-owned company anymore. They are going to expect results from their investments. They're going to expect returns on these investments. And if you're going to spend money on Jade, you want to make sure you get the most out of her. So I'm going to let them decide what's best. Joey Assboy, who works the day shift at Chili's, is not qualified to tell us where the proper place for Jade to debut is. I'm not qualified to tell you that. None of us are. Let WWE handle it. I'm hoping they'll make the right calls with her. And I kind of trust their judgment a lot more than I trust some of the fans, and even mine, for that matter, because sometimes when you have a million different ways you can do something, it really is hard to choose which one is the best way. And everything is the best way in hindsight, but you're not in hindsight. You got to choose these moments now. So what do? And that's why it's probably best to have a team of people deciding this instead of just one person deciding what should be done and what shouldn't be done. That's why we try not to have an ego on this podcast, because I don't ever want to be the guy that says, what I say is gospel, because I think if you say that shit, you're fucking insecure. So WWE, handle Jade whatever way you want. All I ask is don't fuck her up. And also, don't have The Rock beat Roman Reigns for the title. You do those things, WWE, everything else will be cream cheese. Shout out to Teen Wolf. Anyway, I have got to get out of here, guys. I've got another long night at work ahead of me. But I appreciate you being here on this Saturday. Don't forget, we will be here tomorrow night to watch WCW Fall Brawl 1998. A whole bunch of people in this match. Bret, Hogan, Warrior, Piper might be in there. It's a mess. We're going to watch that tomorrow night. It's going to be fun. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. And join me tomorrow for some football and some